Hello and welcome to episode 33 of Around the Lens. I'm your host, David J. Murphy, and this is going to be a great podcast tonight. We are doing a very light show. As you can tell, we're missing Zach. He is out at the Cleveland, Ohio area covering the Republican National Convention, so he won't be on the show tonight. But you can follow his antics on Snapchat, actually. He is posting all kinds of stuff about his experience. Just follow ZD Roberts on Snapchat, and you can see all his up-to-the-minute updates. And he's also posting stuff on Facebook, and so you can keep seeing what he's seeing while he's there. We got a great show tonight. In case you didn't know, Around the Lens is a live weekly roundtable visual journalism podcast where we get experts from the world of visual journalism to talk all kinds of subjects related to news, gear, and topics that affect our career field. This week, our guest tonight is Aaron Rosenblatt. Aaron, why don't you go and tell the audience a little about yourself?
Hey everyone, how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Aaron Rosenblatt. I'm a staff photographer with the Fairfield Daily Republic in Fairfield, California, and I live in Oakland, California, where I am talking to you guys today.
And, excuse me, how long have you been a staff photographer out there?
Out there for about 3.5 years now.
Oh, wow. Okay. What did you do before that?
Before that, I was a staff photographer at the Rapid City Journal. And then before that, I did a slew of internships.
Nice, nice. You know, we always hear and talk about on the show, you know, of course, the death of photojournalism, the fact that, newspapers are laying off, staff photographers left and right. They're going to all freelancers. How do you think, have you maintained sort of staff work? I mean, this is a field. Do you have to go where the staff jobs are, or do you are there opportunities that that are out there? You just got to be on the lookout for them?
Yeah, it's kind of a combination of both in a way. It's the opportunities are there. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of just you mold your own way with it. It's sometimes the opportunity is there. For my current job, I was looking to move back to the Bay Area, and the opportunity came up, and so I applied for it. But in other situations, it's I don't know. I've been very fortunate, actually, I feel, not to have been laid off yet, because when you see it happening left and right to just about every other publication, I kind of feel like they're throwing darts and they're all missing me. But I guess that it is how it is. I mean, I do intend or expect one day that I will get laid off from a publication. I don't know when and where. I actually did have a close call with an internship where I don't want to go too much into the details of it, but when I accepted the internship, in the middle between the time when I accepted and I was going to start, they had a huge layoff, and they gave me the opportunity to not take the internship and go to, do whatever else I wanted. And luckily, another newspaper hired me as an intern in between then. So yeah, it's kind of give and take, but it's at this day and age, like given all the stories that we've know about friends or that we've heard about, it's there's it's very hard not to have like an exit strategy or preparedness plan in case that happens. And for me, it's just I enjoy working at the newspapers for the time being, and it's it's still a good backup plan. I still do freelance on the side and everything, and it's either I'm doing a wedding on the side, or commercial photography of some sort, or my own personal project, which would be not something for publication for my newspaper, but maybe another publication. It's to me, it's not unheard of.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, glad you've been able to maintain a career as a staff photographer. So I wish you all the best of luck, and good backup strategy, another staff photographer job. Just keep on going, keep on going.
Oh yeah, it is. But yeah, I mean, I've had colleagues. We've had a few round of layoffs, but luckily, the paper has had it in a strategy to where they've been able to keep us. Anyone who wants to stay at the paper still is able to do that.
Great, great. Well, again, we're running light today, but we got just me and Aaron tonight, but we're going to have a great show. We got a lot of topics to talk about tonight. So let's get on with the show. Our news topic tonight was actually something pretty cool. It's news about a photojournalist. You may have seen this. It went pretty viral. Essentially, a New York Times photographer, photojournalist, was out and about, and she found some negatives, or not negatives, some slides, Kodachrome slides, just kind of on the ground. So she's like following this trail of Kodachrome slides, and she ends up finding a garbage bag full of Kodachrome slides and letters and a whole bunch of stuff that turned out being from a photographer named Mariana Gosnell. And the story was cool, not just because of what it was, but also because of the fact that, she was reporting this live. So I thought it was a really interesting piece, not only, again, a profound interest to me as a photojournalist myself, but just profoundly interesting in the way it was reported, essentially being reported, done live on the spot. I've never seen something like that before, at least not in the way it was done. So for you, Aaron, did you see this story? What did you think of it?
I saw it. I did not see it live, but I did see the.
Neither did I.
And actually, that is one of my questions. I mean, first of all, I thought it was a fantastic story, and I really wanted to learn more about Mariana Gosnell, and obviously it channeled, the documentary about Vivian Maier and her story, which is the first thing that came to my mind. So yeah, I thought overall the execution was great, and I. Glad I saw it. I learned about this photographer who I didn't know about, and got to see a few samples of her work and what she was about and everything. And so I thought that was great. But it makes me think a little bit about a lot of questions. One is the idea of like Facebook, having it live. You just don't know what's going to happen when things are put out live like that. And I'm reminded of the San Bernardino shootings, where when that happened, the television crews went into the shooter's apartment, and they were just rummaging through their stuff, and they found the pictures of these random kids who had nothing to do with it. Or you just don't know what you're going to uncover when you do such a thing live like that. And there's a good and bad to it. The great thing about it is it was exciting, and I really wish I saw it live. And also, do you happen to know, because I couldn't quite tell when I saw it though, when they did it live, was it because it looked like it was in all these segments, because I saw it all together as one video, was when the photographer went to the various places, was that a 30-minute lag or whatever? Because obviously I
have no idea. I didn't actually watch the whole thing, like the reporting aspect of it live. I do think it's interesting how they did that like that. Like I said, I've never seen anybody report live like that, in like a reporter style. I figured it'd be interesting, if you're just sort of popping in and out and checking it out. I mean, it seemed like probably it was recorded over the course of the day. But I saw the finished product. So I saw the complete, the whole story of how she told it, which was, she told it in a live segment, actually. She broadcast the whole piece. But no, I didn't see any of it live. But I thought it was pretty cool the way it was done.
Absolutely. And I really wonder though, what it would have been like to see it all live, and how that would have affected my opinion of it. Because
my feeling is it probably would have been very boring. Maybe. I don't know.
Absolutely. I don't know.
If you weren't in it like from the beginning, you might be like, this is just a lady talking on the phone, doing research. It just, depending on where you picked it up in the stream, maybe if I was at the very beginning, I'd be like, oh, wow, I'm gripping content to watch live, or maybe it would have just been boring, Exactly. But I think in the end, it was pretty interesting. I'm not going to spoil the end as to why it was in the trash. I think that's a pretty interesting aspect of the story. Still kind of disappointing, though, that, this would get thrown away. But, now I know if I want to get discovered to get my work out there and get some press, all I have to do is throw it away in New York City. And
in the
somebody's
trash.
going to find in the trash. I just take a bunch of photos, print them out, go throw them in the trash. A New York Times reporter will stumble upon it because that's what they do. Bada bing, bada boom. David J. Murphy's a household name. And I think that plan is foolproof.
I think it's a great plan. I also remember a few, maybe it was over the winter, some negatives were left in the snow melt or something that someone uncovered. That or two in New York City. But absolutely, New York City is a great place to just leave trash around. It'll get found and all that.
Oh, yeah.
But, it also brings up, a few other issues. It's, I don't know if this is spoiling it or not, but it's, it ended up in the trash. It's maybe that's something as photographers we have to think about is, where we leave our work, our negatives or our digital hard drive or whatever, with all our,
or who we leave our work with
all our pictures, but who you leave it with. So maybe you don't want it to end up in trash or at a dump,
know? Well, if I'm dead, do I really care? Probably not.
Probably, but I don't know. It's
that brings up a good point. I mean, Aaron, what are you going to do with your stuff? Where are you going to put all your hard drives when you die?
Exactly.
Before you die.
And I don't know, maybe someone with a more of a legal background could answer this question better. If is that something that you could, leave in a will or something? Is that a good idea? Like the same way you leave your money? I mean,
if you're talking about the actual images, I could leave my hard drives that have all my imagery on it with my son.
Yeah.
And, it's his to do with what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Although, of course, your photographs as a staff photographer are all owned by the newspaper or the corporation.
Well, everything I take for the paper is owned by the by the newspaper. But still, I do keep, copies of all the photos I take just for my record and everything from that. Because you never, as you were talking about newspapers, you never know what'll happen, right? Like if they fold or something, I still want a written record of the stuff I took, but also the stuff I don't take for the newspaper. I would like that somewhat, somewhere too. But it's also the same lines of, for me, I always thought the more immediate factor would be, what if there was a fire in your house? Yeah. What would you do with your hard drive or whatever?
And well, if you're not doing an online backup, then you are you might as well just throw away your film right now because it's gone. As good as gone.
It's as good as gone, absolutely. But I don't want to open up the can of worms because I've had so many conversations with colleagues and about what to do with digital files, because it seems like every 2 years the thing that you did before was outdated. Even
well, what I do.
Go on.
Well, I was going to say what I just did recently. Talking about outdated content. I don't trust my hard drives as far as I can throw them, and honestly, if I throw my hard drives, I probably can't trust that they're going to work. But what I'm saying is, I just moved all my content from my last couple hard drives. What I do is I'll get the biggest hard drive I can buy. So I bought an 8 terabyte hard drive, and I moved the content from about 2.5 other hard drives onto that. So now instead of having like 4 hard drives that have all my backups, I'm now working off of 2 hard drives, one 5 terabyte and one 8 terabyte. So it makes it a lot easier just to manage content. And 2, what it does is I keep all that old content on the old hard drives, and they just act as backups to sit on my shelf. So if something does happen to my 8 terabyte, I can at least go back and get the stuff from there.
Absolutely.
That's what I do for caching. Mm-hmm. But as far as like a plan of what to do with the stuff after I die, I don't know. I mean, we had this conversation I think about a month or so back on one of the bonus topics, which, by the way, you can listen to on Patreon, or you can watch it on the YouTube channel. But hey, if you pay for Patreon, I shouldn't plug anything in the beginning of the intro. I usually just read off of a script when I do the intros, but for this week I didn't have the script, and I was just trying to do it off memory. So therefore I forget stuff. Anyways, we've got Facebook page, Twitter page, Patreon page, all this good stuff. I'm not going to give you the links on the air, but they're going to be in the show notes, and you can just go to aroundthelens.com and find them all over there. Yeah, so I mean, what do you want to happen to your work? Like, what do you want to happen to your work? After you die, do you have any plans for them? We talked about a month or so ago, and one of our guests brought up, what they're doing, which I think is really genius, is essentially they're gifting their work off to a fund or a trust fund or something, some organization that can use it and continue to spread it and make sure it has a life essentially after they die. Of course, they're a landscape photographer, so their work has more legs. But do you have any sort of plans or ideas or thought about what you want to happen to your work after you die?
I do have thoughts, but I don't have an immediate plan. It would probably right now. It would definitely, like, if I were to die tomorrow, I think my family would have very much of an interest probably in knowing what happened with my, what I've been photographing and everything, and probably wanting a lot of, the archives of that. But in the future, yeah, that is something where I do intend to at least have written out. I've already told a few friends, like, this is where I keep all my photos in my room and everything. There's, the online backup too and all that. But, the problem with these questions about what, and it's also goes in the line of backup. And I was going to get to this earlier too, is that we just don't know the future, We don't know, like, we could predict 5 years out, maybe 10 years out, but we don't know, like, what technology they're going to have 20 years out, where it's it's out there that we could use to easily back up all our photos, or maybe it won't happen, or maybe, the people creating the technology just won't care. Maybe all of a sudden they realize the only thing they care about is cell phone pictures or something. But I am also reminded of, in the city of Vacaville, which is in our coverage area for our newspaper, a few times I've had some assignments at their historical society, and I, talk to them, and every time I see them, they tell me, we got these darkroom enlargers. We have 4 of them just sitting there looking for a home. They're like, do you want them? And I'm like, yes, I do, but I don't have the space for it. You know what I mean? It's and 30 years ago, like, you could, I don't know, how much would you have been able to get for those? Like, a decent amount or something, right? So yeah, it's the only thing that I could really do, though, is just keep it the best as it is, and as organized as it is, so that a stranger looking at it can say, oh, this is, what Aaron did or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, it's and it's sad to think about, I mean, back in the day, in the 40s, there was a time where film was almost, there were probably fantastic pictures out there that could have been iconic today that were lost,
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was a story a few weeks ago, or probably more than that, probably a month or so ago, on the Petapixel about how this, it was back during, like, the Depression or something, and it was this photo editor for, like, the National Wildlife Society or something like that. He would take a hole puncher to photographs he didn't like, and he would punch holes in, like, the faces of the negative or something like that, so you couldn't even reproduce it. I'm just like, oh my God, so much beautiful work lost,
Well, I mean, not only that, like, Eugene Smith on the Pittsburgh project, like, I think there was a story I once read that he had like 10,000 negatives stolen from his car from that in Pittsburgh. And to think of, what else could have happened from that,
Yeah. Hey, what do you think about this Facebook Live reporting? Like, is this, have you played with Facebook Live? Is this something like you think, oh, well, I'll turn on Facebook Live while I'll go do a photo shoot and edit and stuff like that? That's something you ever think about doing?
It's interesting because I have 2 perspectives of it. One is from being filmed, and that is, I was at a party a few weeks ago, and this guy was pulling out his cell phone with Facebook Live going and everything, and I felt uncomfortable knowing that, like, it was being broadcasted live. But then again, as I said earlier, and when you're out in public, you should these days expect to be broadcasted live. You might as well. just because there's so many cameras out there and everything. Is it something that, if I feel it's the right time to do it, then absolutely. There's just, everything, whether it's photo, video, Facebook Live, whatever it is, there's a right time and a wrong time, And it's if I feel it's a right time to pull out Facebook Live, or I feel everyone who's following me on Facebook or potentially on Facebook needs to see what I'm seeing live, absolutely. And, it's a case-by-case basis, and it comes to the judgment of the journalist in you. And it's, you don't need to be a photojournalist to do this. You could be a written written journalist and do this. You could be a multimedia reporter and do Facebook Live. And if you feel the situation is right, then for sure. But, if you're putting a quota, like, certain papers, they'll have a quota on, like, number of videos you have to do a week or number of blog posts. Luckily, my paper does not require me to do that. But, if you're putting a quota on, like, a number of Facebook Live recordings, then, a week or whatever, then what's the point? It's like, because anything in journalism is on a case-by-case basis, really. And if you feel that it is necessary to do, or appropriate to do Facebook Live in X situation, go for it.
Yeah, I haven't had a desire, I guess, to Facebook Live a lot. I tried it once just to play with it, but it hasn't been something I've gotten into. What I've been getting into recently more so is Snapchat. Do you play with the Snapchat at all? Do you use that?
No, Snapchat actually I've been purposely avoiding. Okay. It sounds like fun, but
it's great for, like, all these, like, silly, like, social media apps and stuff that honestly I ignored. I ignored, like, Instagram forever. I ignored Snapchat forever. I just had, like, a Facebook page and that's it. I'm like, what do I need more? So I'm beginning to see the utility more so in these different specific apps. Like, Snapchat is great if you want to tell a story about a specific event. Instagram is great if you want to develop a following of people who just want to look at photos. So I'm beginning to see the importance or the significance of these tools as I actually see people post stuff. Because for, like, the longest time, I have a Snapchat account and there's nothing on it. Like, nobody is doing anything except for all these, like, sponsored Snapchats. I'm like, okay. But I guess you said you're avoiding it, right? So
well, there's a few other reasons why as well. It's well, first of all, I haven't really just been too into, like, the social media. Instagram I have been into because that's photo based. It's
right.
Now it's a little bit of video too, but it's like Twitter for photos, or however, Facebook for photos. And I do
Twitter,
photos.
I've kind of fallen out of.
Yeah, Twitter is actually, like, I don't use it too much for photos, although I link it to my Instagram account. But I do see the value in Twitter in certain ways. For Twitter, for me, is more like I subscribe to all the news outlets I want to, and I just get all of the feed right there, and I could go with that. But it's kind of, all these social media outlets have kind of changed as they've become, to me at least, as they become more social media savvy. Because now you're getting, I would imagine at least, you're getting students coming out of college or grad school with marketing degrees specializing in social media and viralization and all that. And that's what they go for. And I see it. I notice that, the New York Times is publishing or tweeting out the same article over the week, to get more hits or whatever. I see it when that happens, or the San Francisco Chronicle or NPR or whoever else. And it's and I see the one thing that irks me, that'll, if you want me to unfollow you, it's clickbait. If I feel I'm getting cheated, and it's in anything, I'm going to, you're done. I don't care how great your organization is or whatever. But going back.
Speaking of which, our next topic is top 10 celebrities that have been found dead in a gutter. You'll love number 7. No.
I thought you were going to say top 10 celebrities on your on the show, but okay. I hope I make number 10.
Well, we got Aaron Rosenblatt.
Yeah.
He was the biggest celebrity we've gotten so far.
In the past 24 hours, yes.
On tonight's show right now.
On tonight's show, yes.
So let's move on to our next topic. We got our general topic this week is photographing in public. There was a video put out. You can check it out on Petapixel. It was basically this London, UK photographer going around and just photographing from the street in public, on public property at things that are visible from the public street, and just kind of seeing how sort of, security and whatnot would interact with them and basically tell them to stop shooting. And I mean, it's something that, unfortunately is more and more common nowadays, to see, have people essentially tell you can't shoot where you can actually legally shoot, because I don't know, they want to control people doing what they're doing. What about you? I mean, Aaron, is this something you deal with in your work as a photojournalist? Have you had, run-ins with security or people telling you not to shoot when you knew for a fact that you could shoot? How'd you deal with that?
Absolutely. You got to, you're probably not, maybe you're not a good photojournalist if you're not getting approached like this,
Right. But you got to have the key, really big camera lens.
Yeah.
With the big camera body. Otherwise, people don't even think you're a real photographer.
Absolutely. Well, nowadays it's the belt and the selfie stick. But anyways, no, it's when it doesn't take long to be a professional photographer where someone's going to approach you. And it's, I remember the first time happened to me as a photojournalist. It's in these situations, though, it's going to happen. And it's, look, it depends on the situation, really, all the time. You got to figure it out. But in my experience, the best way to act is to act calmly, to respond,
Sure.
It's because if someone, whether even, if a police officer approaches you, the best way to act is calmly. If anyone else, a stranger, approaches you, the best way to act is calmly. And
so I shouldn't flail my arms?
Probably not the best idea, no. But, what
if I hold my hands behind my back? If I hold one hand behind my back, is that?
No, it's more, hey, what's the problem here? Am I offending you? Am I doing something wrong? Am I bothering you? If I stand over there, would that be all right? Or look,
right.
One time a guy approached me and he was just, there was no way to stop it. I could have, had done a cross with my arms, given 2 thumbs up, given 2 thumbs down. He would have been, he was just crazy as crazy. You just cannot stop that. So my best situation,
like that one guy who, did you see the video? It was like about a week ago. The guy who was trying to shoot on a road, and the guy in the truck kept on trying to hit him. Have you seen that video?
I heard the story, but I did not see the video. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically the guy's telling him, I'm on a road, and the guy in the truck saying, like, get off my driveway.
Yeah, and it turned out to be a public road and all that.
Oh, yeah, it was totally a public road, but, the guy kept on arguing that it was his road, and he kept on almost hitting the guy with his truck. And it's just,
no, but it's a absolute, it's, look, you're not going to, if a guy is acting so crazy, then it comes to the point of, is it worth it for what you're doing? Or is there another way to do this, Yeah. On several points, though, I'm reminded of, what's it, Timothy Tai in the University of Missouri last fall? He was told no, and he responded in the way he did. But the thing that I take away from that also is the photojournalist for the Dallas Morning News, McCarthy. GJ, he was just interviewed last week with the shootings going on in Dallas. I think he was on scene, but
sure.
He came out with an article explaining his, answering this question, which is how he has responded when people come up to him and tell him he cannot take a picture when he legally can, when he's on public property. And, it's, and what I took away from that is the best way to respond to that is to answer calmly. And if you need the link to that, I could send you the link to that too, if you haven't read it. It's a really great read and should be given to any photo student or any photojournalist, really. But
yeah, by all means, we'll throw it in the show notes.
Absolutely. But with that said, though, it's a what are you gaining from it? I mean, to go more specifically to the situations we're talking about in the video here, where we're talking security cards of buildings. I mean, this happened to me even before I was a professional photographer and photojournalist. It was a big thing in post 9/11 in San Francisco. And I happened to me once. I was taking a picture for fun with a friend in front of the pyramid building. And as I was done, it turns out as we're walking away, the security guard came up to me. And we're talking 2002 here. And he said, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And, I kind of let that slide. I was done. B, we're talking probably like the most iconic building on the West Coast, at the time, whatever. Okay. But not too long after that, there was this whole series of downtown, buildings in downtown where, photographers, professionals, and amateurs alike were being approached by building security guards, just like in the video we're talking about.
Right.
And it got ugly. It got to a few altercations, and it got into physical fist fights and attacks, and eventually went to the courts. And once it went to the courts, and the courts sided with the photographer, that was it. After that, I never heard another story after that of a building security guard in downtown San Francisco approaching photographers.
Wow. Yeah, so it's like, sorry, just because you have a building doesn't mean I can't shoot it.
Oh, you're on public land, but I had an assignment last year where it was, it was kind of like I knew they were going to approach me, and I even went up to them and I just said, "Hey, I'm with my newspaper, the Daily Republic. This is what I'm doing," and just talked to them. They're like, "All right, you can't shoot here." I'm like, "I can't shoot from here, but I could shoot from there, right?" And they're like, "Yep, good." Went out to where I was allowed to shoot from, pulled out my zoom lens, and we were 30 seconds to taking pictures. It's all good,
Yeah.
And that's really what it is, It's just there was another time where there was a fire, and I was taking pictures, a house fire, and the owner came up to me and said, "Can you not take pictures?" And I was like, "Well, considering the fact that it's a 4-alarm fire and blah 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 right here, this is why I have to take the pictures. If you got problems," but I was also surrounded by cops, police officers, and my favorite story of this though is a friend of mine. I think it was a neo-Nazi march, and the police were detaining someone, and they found whatever weapons in his bag or something, and he was in cuffs and detained, and he yells at all the photographers around him, "Stop taking pictures." And one of the photographers puts his camera down and says, "I'm not," and puts it back up and starts taking pictures. It's like, what are you going to do? You're in handcuffs,
Yeah, whenever anybody does that, and I know I'm absolutely in the right, I'll turn my camera to like high speed burst. Yeah. I'll be like, "Oh, what? What did you say? I can't hear you over the sound of my shutter." Say that again.
But there's something to be to be careful with it, which is also like your job is to document what's going on. And I was telling you earlier, there was a in San Francisco on Friday night, and they went up to a TV crew, and granted it's a TV crew, not still photographers, but they asked them to stop. The TV crew said, "No, we're in public and you can't tell us to stop." So they started attacking the TV crew. And the police arrested the attackers, but it's like, I granted it's like you can't let them intimidate you like that. But at the same time, it's like, when it's a situation like that, you still want to like show what's going on, and to me, one of the ways I like to do that is to be, leave as little of a footprint as possible.
Yeah, I would say if there are, instances where you can appease the person, if it's like like you said, you get, okay, I can shoot from here. You shoot, you kind of make them, feel better about thinking that they're doing their job, but you're still to do your job. And I think in those instances, great. Everybody's happy. But if it comes down to it, and I need to shoot, and you're telling me I can't shoot, we're gonna have issues. Because ultimately, just like you're a staff photographer, you can't come back to the come to the newspaper and be like, well, I didn't get the shoot, I didn't get the photos. Somebody told me not to shoot. I'm like, okay, then you don't get your paycheck. You don't get to work here anymore. Go away. You gotta have that intestinal fortitude, unless somebody's threatening you with like your life and stuff, and then you have like some grounds. But otherwise, if they're just like, you got it. But that's on you, and that's on all of us to know our rights and what we can do, and politely exercise it. Then again, what you can do is with our next product that we're going to talk about during Gear Talk, if they're really getting on you or they're going to attack you, you can use this long cord to strangle them or defend yourself.
That's a good use.
Yeah, multiple uses. Really, it's like the jack of all trades. So that's segueing into our Gear Talk segment. You see how smooth that was? Anyways, we're talking about the Tether Boost Pro. So what this is it allows you to essentially extend the length you can tether your camera to your computer up to 65 feet. So, most people, maybe like they have a USB cord that's maybe up to 15 feet. But anything after that, you're going to get a lot of deterioration, signal loss, and just connection issues. So the Tether Boost allows you to essentially extend that, like I said, up to 65 feet. I've not done much tethered photography myself, a little bit in the studio, but really it was never necessary. It's always just been something I've sort of played with. How about you? Have you ever played with tethered photography? Is this thing have any sort of use for you?
No. I mean, I did tethered photography once. I think a long time ago, many moons ago, when I was a much younger person. I think it was before my card reader arrived in the mail. But yeah, it's it's definitely an interesting concept for what they're doing here. But for me, it's something that would probably constrain my workflow, just because I love to have the freedom to, even if my pictures need to go out, I would much rather have the memory card uploading and I have another memory card in my camera to use around. Do
you ever shoot sports, or is it mostly just news?
No, I've shot sports before too. I mean, for the paper all the time as well. Although it's slightly different at the paper I work for now compared to at other papers. But yeah, it's if it comes down to if that's the issue right there, and it's they need a picture like that, great. But I don't know, like maybe a card reader with a Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi enabled would be more useful in that situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only instance I've ever known of a photojournalist who's used it is a photographer I interviewed a few years ago who was, shooting the Olympics. And in the Olympics, you're stationed with your camera, in the best possible position, and you're just shooting pictures from that area. You're not, usually you're staged in an area to get all the runners or all the skiers and stuff, and you're tethered to a computer where your photo editor is just snapping the shots away. But
I mean, if that's the situation, then absolutely, it's if that's the best way to get the photos to your editor, then go right it. Absolutely do it. 65 feet, and it's kind of like being a dog tied to a pole or something. You can take any picture you want, right. 65. But hey, if that's the best way, the option you have, then by all means go for it. I also assume, your laptop is probably right there too with you. If Well,
it's their laptop.
Yeah,
their laptop. But you've never been in a situation where you were trying to get imagery transmitted that fast. How do you transmit your imagery? Do you just get back? I mean, are you?
No, I have been in situations like that before. But how do I actually now? Luckily, our coverage area at our paper is not so far away where it's just easier for me to go back to the office.
65 feet.
Yeah, it's further than 65 feet. You know, they're real. That's one of the nice things about my papers. They're really great on the deadlines and working that all, you know, working it out and everything. They don't demand like 75 pictures that need to be published for a web gallery or anything like that. But I have been in situations like that before, and you know, it's a lot of fun being a mobile journalist and everything, and carry the laptop around with you. And yeah, in situations like that, it's you just got to be fast. You shoot, upload as fast as you can, and send it off. You know.
So your standard workflow is basically like shoot, get your camera or get your memory card out, download, do all your editing, and then transmit from the road.
For this paper, yeah. But you know, there have been situations where when my previous paper, for instance, we would have the cell phone with the what do you call it? The
tethering?
Not the tethering, but the built-in Wi-Fi connection. The what do you call that? The where you
tethering?
The hotspot.
That's the only thing I know. I know tethering. Yeah, that's tethering.
That's tethering. Yeah.
Wi-Fi hotspot.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, the Wi-Fi hotspot. Yeah, and that's what you would use. And if we were, you know, it would usually be slightly slower than the regular connection, but it would work. And if that's the case, as long as you're in a place with cell reception, that's the key. That would work great. Although I feel like nowadays, like they might, you know, they must have something better now, right? I mean, maybe not.
Well, I don't know, honestly. I mean, tethering with a smartphone seems to be the go-to solution. Although I've read stories about people who, you know, had these, like for instance, the New York Times photographer was talking about a setup he had where everything was connected. So his phone was connected to his camera, not physically, but everything was wirelessly connected to the point where, you know, he'd be shooting and the images would be transmitting
straight to the editor.
Shot. Yeah, that's always sort of the holy grail of sort of what editors would love to see, you know, because they could see your stuff live being shot. Yeah. So, but no, I don't know of any solution better than tethering with a smartphone, because I mean, honestly, a lot, you know, smartphones are very fast. You know, you can get a nice 4G LTE smartphone, and it's
affordable too.
Some instances faster than broadband.
Yeah.
For a newspaper, I don't think it'd be that, you know, it'd be an affordable expense.
It all depends again on the situation and how fast they want or need the photos.
Right.
But yeah, when it comes to, like, you know, when you're in a situation probably like I'd imagine the Olympics, where there's just so many photographers there and there's only so much space to go around, it's yeah, if you're limited, I could see this being a pretty helpful tool to have.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But not for us.
We
are good.
Yeah, we're doing all right.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and close up the shop. Close up the episode with our eye catchers this week. Mine is a website I found, 7h42.com. It's an interesting website. I haven't delved too deeply into it, but I think it's neat because it's a strong focus on photojournalism. So just really photos to tell the story. And there's a lot of variety here and a lot of interesting stuff going on. So I would recommend that. 7H42, just for a good wide variety of stuff going on here that you might want to go check out. So always good photojournalism.
Where are they based out of?
I honestly don't know that.
All right.
I know that it's Michael Monnier and Louis Gobiel, who are in charge of the site, or at least their names are at the bottom of it. I'll have to have them on the show to talk about this at the website, because it is pretty neat. I'm sure there's a way to submit your own stuff too.
Let me know when you have them on the show. I'll make sure to tune in for that one.
Okay, sounds good. What do you got for us this week, Aaron?
I want to a work by a photojournalist. His name is Akuru Kuwajima here. Can you see it? Does it look good? Yeah. He right here, he has gone to a place that not many people have gone, up in the Arctic region of Russia, and has come away with this book and these amazing photos it comes out in this accordion like this, which is awesome. Give you a little sample of them. It's independently published, fantastic pictures, and it tells a great story. And there are very few photographers who've probably been out here. If you're interested in checking out the work, you could Google his name, and I'll make sure you get the notes for that, for the show notes, so that people could look him up. But he's done.
What's his name?
His name is Akuru Kuwajima, and here's the cover again right here. You got it? See it?
Yep.
Excellent.
Definitely.
And he's always done great work on anything he's done. And again, this is a place that, we talk about the immediacy of photos and everything. This is still a place that not many photographers can reach or go to. And it's just something about the way rural, really cold regions, something like that. And he went there. And actually, when I spoke to him this weekend, he said he's planning to move to maybe Moscow, maybe somewhere else. But a place that's going to be hard to reach compared to the place where he went and photographed. So I'm glad he went there for me, because it's a very cold place, a place that does not see much daylight. And he spent the time with the people there. And I felt like told a pretty cool story about how they're trying to preserve their culture through photographs, of course.
Cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely great. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. Where can people find more about you, Aaron?
Oh, my website is aaronrosenblattphoto.com, just my name, followed by PHOTO, photo.com, all one word. And you could access my website, my contact info, all the social media you could ever desire and all that. So check that out.
I desire a lot of social media.
Oh boy, we're ready to go.
You better meet my demands.
Hey, just let me know if I'm disappointing you. I'll make sure you're happy.
All right.
Yeah. Did we do a good
these guys
job?
are based out of Canada.
What's that?
I think these guys are
Canada.
Guys are based out of Canada, I think.
Okay.
Or at least one of the photo stories took place in Canada. So, yeah, Montreal, Quebec.
Montreal, Quebec.
So,
thank goodness for Canada then. All right.
That's right. All right.
America's that.
Here we go. This has been episode 33. Aaron, I want to thank you for being on the show. Really appreciate you taking the time. We're going to do a bonus topic after this. If you want to listen to it now, go to Patreon, drop us a buck. You'll have access to it now. If not, you'll just have to wait a little while. But again, thank you all for listening. You can find out more about me at djmphoto.com and everything DJM Photo. But of course, head over to aroundthelens.com to listen to the show, listen to other shows, watch other shows, and just overall stay connected with the community. So, Aaron, thank you for your time. I am David J. Murphy. This has been Around the Lens, and we're out.